Happy Wednesday, fight fans. Welcome back to another interview with me, Mystic Black, Darnell Giovanni. Today, we're going to be joined by Jeff Bristol, who is a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach, sports performance coach for the likes of Dominick Cruz, Michael Chandler, Kat Zingano, Jessica Penne, and a whole myriad of other athletes. He's going to be joining us soon. As soon as he gets in, I'm going to add him, and we will begin. Thank you guys so much, of course, for joining me today. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the support. And Jeff has just entered the room. We're going to start. Let me add him on. One moment. Sure this gets on here. There he is.
What up?
How you doing, Jeff?
What's up there, Darnell? How you doing, boss?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today on this Wednesday. I appreciate the time. And, of course, you are welcome here to Mystic Black MMA.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. First things comes to first. How you doing over there during this global pandemic? I know the world has been in a whirlwind. Everything has changed. I see you guys opened the gym recently, June 13th. How's everything been going opening up wise?
You know, it's been definitely a challenge. You know, no two ways about it. Just like the rest of the world, a lot of fear and anxiety and stress. But us as a gym, as trainers, as coaches, as life transformers, it's been our responsibility to keep the positivity and the motivation and workouts going and stuff. So even though physically, like our gym was closed down for 3 months,
Wow.
like 3 months, shut the doors. We pivoted, we scrambled, we started virtual workouts. We did a lot of stuff, put out a lot of content, kept our community real strong during the time we were shut down and stuff like that. So, you learned a lot about yourself and your team and other people and stuff like that during that time. And so, it's been neat just seeing how strong our community at our gym has been throughout all this and supporting each other and stuff like that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I'm glad you guys are open.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah. So first, let's start off. You have so many positions there. You're the general manager, but you're a performance coach, strength and conditioning, personal trainer.
Totally.
You started, you wrestled in high school, where you had likes of like Dan Henderson coming there to train there. Did you ever have any inclination that you wanted to maybe go into the MMA field, or that was never really a thing on your mind?
Well, Darnell, maybe in another life that would have been the path. Certain things, people take different turns and stuff like that. I was lucky to be part of a high school wrestling program that was incredible. A lot of times different high schools, wrestling is kind of one of those smaller sports and whatnot. There are certain schools in California and throughout the country that have more of a built-up tradition of a wrestling program. And so that's the kind of high school I went to, Temecula Valley. Golden Bears, baby, go Bears. Coach Arnold Alpert, Lyndon Campbell started the tradition there a long time ago. So I grew up in a really solid wrestling program. Went on to wrestle in college and had a great college career, kind of in the beginning, and had a lot of potential. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, kind of is, 3 words that I hate, but it's the truth. It's, I think when I was in high school and college, my lifestyle is that, I lived a lifestyle where, I trained and wrestled hard, but I also partied hard, and that can, catch up with you after a while. And that's kind of what it did. Towards the end of my college wrestling career, I was blessed in college to have incredible coaches and teammates around me, high school and college.
Uriah Faber, Mark Munoz.
Yep. So Mark Munoz was my assistant coach. Head coach Lenny Zaleski came from Iowa. This incredible background. Assistant coach Mark Munoz, Oklahoma State. Munoz is just, Lenny and Mark both just incredible coaches, but incredible people. So I had some really awesome leaders there. And then Uriah Faber, he was my teammate. He was the guy that, he was a senior when I was a freshman. So when I went on my recruiting trip there, he had that same kind of leadership and stuff that he does like with Team Alpha Male now. So that was kind of one of the reasons going there and meeting the coaches and then meeting Uriah and the team. It was like, that's why I went there. But, all those guys could tell a lot of stories about me, in college. And I was a national qualifier and Pac-10 place winner and stuff, but I still kind of never reached my potential because by the time I was a senior in college, I went to rehab actually for my first time. While I had, I didn't even wrestle my senior year because my coaches, my parents, teammates, people, everybody knew what was up. I was falling down this path of drugs and alcohol and stuff. And so caught up with me, and I didn't even get to really finish my college wrestling career and went off to rehab my senior year in college. And then that kind of started a long battle with drugs and alcohol. And so yeah, my point being, back to your question, I remember was, would I have liked to have done MMA or something? Well, maybe. I mean, if I was clean and sober at the time and focusing on wrestling and training, like that would have been a realistic transition for me post-college potentially, because that's what Uriah, I remember back in college, the first practice, Uriah was a grad assistant coach at Davis. And then I remember him coming in and he was like practicing his strikes, and we're all going, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to start fighting. And, at that time, like, fighting was such a smaller, like, it was one of those things that you went to Blockbuster. Yeah, you went to Blockbuster and rented the UFC tapes and stuff like that,
I did.
It wasn't like it. Yeah. And fighting for our generation at that time was kind of like so he kind of, like people know, blazed the trail along with some of these other guys, these lighter weights that, started lighter weights in the UFC and stuff like that. So, if in another life, maybe I would have said, hey, like, I'm going to stay up here in Sacramento and train with Uriah, and maybe got into it, but that's not what happened. I decided to take a detour, and, I went through some ups and downs for a long time. And then, but you know what? I learned a lot during those years, and now, thank God, I'm living a different life, and, get to help coach and mentor people and use my experiences to, gain strength and wisdom and, insight from and stuff like that. So.
Absolutely. So was there any point in time, I mean, in that time period, that you felt that, I know everybody has different kinds of rock bottoms, but did you have that feeling of just like, you know what, my life has got to change. I got to do something different?
100%, man. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, I think part of my personality, and you talk about people that have been through struggles and stuff like that. Rock bottom is something that people talk about.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of my addiction and stuff like that. Like, I was addicted to some hard drugs like heroin and meth, and I had some really, really low lows, so my rock bottom was kind of like, I hit a bunch of rock bottoms, ones that, you would have thought maybe would have kind of made me wake up and kind of, but I went through multiple bottoms, jail, rehab, kind of overdoses, different things that, I didn't really, it wasn't until I was 29 that I got clean and sober. So I was like senior year of college, 22 or so, like 29. I had a long, majority of my 20s, my buddies from college and stuff were starting their careers and families, and Uriah's off fighting and stuff. And here I was like, so I did hit multiple rock bottoms, and it took me a while, but still I feel lucky and grateful that, some people never get out of it. So, yeah.
That's very tough. And I big commends for you to go through something like that and come out the way that you are now.
You hear me all right there,
do you
Darnell?
feel that if you feel like if you didn't go through those things, would you end up where you are now? Like, let's say you just focused in
you're
college.
buffering a little
You
bit
think
there,
you'd still
bud.
end? Oh, can you hear me now? Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
You hear me? Okay, perfect.
I got you back. Yeah, I got you back there. Yeah.
All right. If you didn't go through those things in college with the addiction, do you think you end up where you are now?
Yeah, you're kind of buffering right there.
It's buffering again.
Sorry.
What about now? I don't know why it's doing that. Do you hear me now, Jeff?
Yeah, you're kind of frozen there. Sorry, man.
Frozen? Give me one moment. Let me just adjust it.
Okay, I
What
got you
about now?
there. Could be on my
Perfect?
end.
Okay, no worries. Just it has some issues sometimes with the Instagram line, but we're good. So if you didn't go through those things during
Should get off
college, do
this
you think?
Wi-Fi. You get off.
Can you hear me, Jeff?
I think it's on my end there, Darnell. I got so a lot of people here on my.
Oh,
Yeah.
bye. Everybody, can you
There we
guys
go.
hear us? Just let us know if you can hear us. Let me see if I can add them back. Give me one moment. I'm gonna add you right. Can you guys hear us? Can you guys hear us? Let me know if you can hear us. Did you hear both of us pretty clear? Yes. Okay. All right. I guess he was having some issues on his end. I'm going to add him back again and let's see. Can you perfectly? Okay. Guess he was having some problems there. It's okay, guys. It happens. Gonna add him right back.
Hey,
Jeff,
boss, you got me
better?
back there? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right. We're all
I
good?
apologize for that. You know what? We got a lot of people doing Zoom training from our facility and stuff. So
Still going on. So they're using the Wi-Fi, so everything's
yeah, the
started
Wi-Fi is
up.
like, man, I've been on the phone with our AT&T because we're doing so much streaming because a lot of people are still at home and stuff. So
All right. All right. No worries. No worries. We're all
we
good.
got you back though.
Everybody.
We're back.
We're back.
Okay,
We're
cool,
back.
cool, cool,
All
cool.
right.
Sorry about that.
So back to what I was saying. If you think if you didn't go through those things in your 20s, that you'd end up to where you are now. Like, do you regret those things happening? Do you wish you had some of those years back?
Honestly, like, of course, especially at the very beginning, getting out of those years of addiction and stuff,
Yeah.
I felt so far behind from a lot of my counterparts, friends and peers and stuff. And and the main regret is, not only do you put yourself through really terrible stuff when you're suffering through like addiction or alcoholism, but it's more so the people around you,
Yeah.
like my family unit, my parents, brother, my sister, people, my wife, they really struggled and suffered a lot during that time. So that part is the part that, like, man. Um, However, at the same time, some of the lessons that I learned during those years, and the insight and perspective that I have today that I would not have,
Yeah.
that if I had not have gone through some of that stuff, that stuff's like, you can't teach it or know it unless you've been there. And
Absolutely.
so I'm grateful for that. When I see somebody else's family struggling because somebody's going through something, I can relate on a deeper level. And, if I got a client or somebody that I'm coaching, I can really understand from a perspective of being there. And so, some lessons are hard learned, and I definitely, learned some hard ones, but, I'm grateful for the perspective it gave me.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
how did you end up stumbling upon to over there in San Diego at Fitness Quest?
To be honest, it was, like kind of like a God shot kind of deal, or like the stars aligning, kind of thing, because former college wrestler, athlete, this
Yeah.
and that. And then I kind of, already with people, just their athletic career ends, you can kind of be lost and kind of like, okay, what's next kind of deal. Well, I had that whole situation in a long battle with alcohol, or with, alcoholism addiction. And so here I am,
Yeah.
like 29 years old, and I was just barely clean and sober. And I met my now wife, and she was living in San Diego. So I moved from Temecula, my hometown, down to San Diego.
Yeah.
And I honestly answered a Craigslist ad for this Fitness Quest 10, the gym
Wow.
here where I work. It was like, come to find out, like, it was for the front desk too. I wasn't even a trainer at the time. All I was like a former
Yeah.
athlete. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, that's kind of right up the street from where I was living. I didn't have a car, driver's license. I was just trying to get back on my feet, and I was like, and then I like started doing some research on this particular place. And it's like Todd Durkin, the owner and founder of Fitness Quest 10. He's
Yes.
a, world renowned trainer, coach, speaker, author. And the culture here and the clients and stuff is just amazing. And so I was like, wow, that place is actually like really cool, So I came in here, I met Todd, met some, the manager, at the general manager Julie Wilcox at the time, and I was like looking around, and all these athletes, guys like Drew Brees and Darren Sproles, LaDainian Tomlinson. They've been longtime clients of this place, and it's also got this real cool family community and stuff. So I was like, wow, this place is awesome. So applied, got the job. I was honest with them from the very beginning about my background and stuff, and so that was the beginning, man. And since then, that was like 8 years ago, and it started at the front desk, then became a trainer, and trained, really hard, and trained a lot over like the last 6 years, and then moved into the general manager role last year. And so now I do a little bit of working, helping the team, the trainers. We got 35 people here or so, from trainers, Pilates instructors, massage therapists, our directors of first impression, and then myself and Todd. And so
So what impact has Todd had on your life since you've been?
Yeah, Todd's been a huge influence, mentor on me. So grateful to have like stumbled upon him, literally, like kind of at a time in my life that like I still kind of look back at that time in my life, and getting out of a really tough battle of addiction can be really tough, and certain things sometimes it's like I said, the stars aligning. And I know that like Fitness Quest 10, that's why it's got a special place in my heart, because it was something more than just like one of the jobs that I've had along the way or whatever. This place has represented a transformation for me in my life, where like I started working here, and then I started getting my life back on track, clean and sober, found my purpose, started training and coaching and getting back to my roots of wrestling and MMA and stuff like that. And so it's given me a lot, like a platform. So Todd, he's an incredible guy, and I always tell people, check him out, like on his Instagram or his podcast, the Impact Show. He's just he just shouting from the roof. Yeah, he's super, motivator, positivity coach. He's an incredible guy, So he's been a big influence on me.
Was there any specific athlete that you started training and you just felt, what I'm putting out there and what I'm doing for this athlete, it's showing, and you can see the results? Like any specific like situation to where just like I can see the results that I'm giving this athlete for my work?
Yeah, totally. One thing that I actually was grateful for about when I started training here and started training athletes is that I trained athletes of all types. We have, predominantly in the, the professional athletes that come to Fitness Quest 10 have been like NFL players, Major League Baseball players, other types of athletes. And wrestling and MMA was not, hugely, this isn't like an MMA gym, So when I came in here as a wrestler, it's like, that's kind of like the, and wrestling, and it's, wrestling, it's its own little subculture community. It's kind of like these, when you're a wrestler and you meet a fellow wrestler, you're like, oh, what's up, man? Like you already have an instant bond, and you're like, high-fiving and hugging and wrestling like within 3 minutes of knowing each other. So, So, I was pumped when I had been here as a trainer, working with different athletes, high school, college, these different. Remember, Mike Chandler came in the building, and he had searched out Todd Durkin and Fitness Quest 10. I believe he was following Drew Brees on social media, on Twitter or something. Saw that Drew was training here at this facility, and so he came in and saw the cauliflower. I'm like, oh, dude, I need to know that guy. And then like I realized I remembered him from my college wrestling days, and so he was one of the wrestler / MMA athletes that I first worked with here. And him and I remember that first week we met each other. It was like he was getting married. I was getting married the next weekend, and he was getting married in 2 weeks. And so like we had kind of like that instant kind of bond over wrestling, and then we became friends, and I started training him. And that was my first time that like, working with an athlete that like, I really like, connected and saw that, I love training my, people that come from my roots, like that wrestler, MMA type athlete. And at the same time, I'm really stoked that I got exposed to all these other sports. Yeah. Because when you grow up in high school wrestling and college wrestling and stuff, you're not like usually, with other athletes, it's just exposed to football players and basketball players and, lacrosse players or golfers or anything. So I've trained, almost any type of athlete now at this kind of point. You know, I've had a little bit of everything, and I really do appreciate, you know, a lot of different sports that I didn't have as much background in before, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you train the likes of former UFC bantamweight champion Dominick Cruz. You got Kat ZINGANO, Jessica Penne, a couple people on your roster there. Training someone like Dominick Cruz, a beautiful mind, as I like to say, because the way he speaks, I can listen to him talk for hours and hours.
Yeah.
He's gone through so many injuries in his career. He's had to come back from 3-4 year layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you say related, like messages you relay to him to keep him kind of going, or that you do to each other?
Yeah, totally. I think one thing about training like somebody like Dom, or really any type of athlete or any type of client, can be like, you know, you have to understand that, like, first of all, the grind of their sport,
Mm-hmm.
especially somebody that's been in it for a long time, you know, like a Dominic, he's been in a long time, battled multiple injuries and stuff like that, is knowing that, like, you know, on any given day, you know, these guys don't need to be just crushed. Like, they're already training, they're doing sparring on, you know, Monday, Wednesday mornings, and then wrestling practice Tuesday nights, and you know, their training schedule kind of fluctuates, and there's certain days and weeks that your body's beat up and everything like that. And as a strength coach or something, like, you might have this whole plan, like, oh, this day I want to do all this stuff with them and everything like that, but you got to be able to, you know, when they come in, kind of assess, like, okay, like, they just, you know, had sparring practice and threw 1,000 kicks last night. And
Yeah.
then, you know, so it's like, you got to be able to adapt, kind of listen, and have that, you know, kind of coach's intuition on, like, okay, like, hey, we don't need to, like, crush our conditioning today or something like that, you know, and stuff. So, and knowing that, just, you know, I think it's something that you learn as a coach, just, you know, like, kind of like listening, not just with your ears, but just listening to your athletes, where they're at, like, in their mind, personal stuff going on, business stuff, you know, he's working all the time.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So, you know, I think it's like, you know, just having that, you know, that sixth sense. It's not just about, you know, the squats and the push-ups and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of about taking in the other stuff. Okay, what's going on right now? You've been traveling, or, you know, mentally, what's going on? Where's he at? Like, so yeah.
So do you and Dom ever do you ever still go back to your wrestling days and wrestle with him? If he ever asks, you guys ever get in there and still go at it?
Yeah, actually, you know, like, as much as I'd like to get on the mat all the time, and if we had mats here at Fitness Quest 10, I'd like to, like, get the building next to us and have it. Like, some MMA gyms do have, like, strength and conditioning and, you know, MMA and stuff like that. Unfortunately, like I told you, this gym is more of a strength and conditioning, and we do sports performance and stuff like that. So we don't have mats here, and I work a lot. That being said, whenever I get the opportunity to get on the mat, I'd love to. Actually, it's funny, like, I can go for long spurts without getting on the mat. It's not because I don't want to. It's just like, at this point in my career, my role here, I got a lot of time that I spend here. So if I get a chance to go, and actually I went and wrestled this morning for a couple hours with a good friend and coach, MMA coach of mine. You might be familiar with him. His name's Justin Flores. J Flow, yeah. So he's a long time. He went to Temecula Valley High School, where I went. One of my best friends, you know, he's one of my groomsmen in my wedding, and him and I go way back. It's kind of cool. We're both living in San Diego right now, and him and I have some of the same people we work with. You know, like, he's trains Kat with grappling, and I train her here in the gym, and same with Dom and stuff like that. So this morning, actually, you could see this was actually.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, that was this morning. I mean. So first, I've only been on the mat like 2 times in the last 6 months or something like that, and I went over there with Dom and Orlando, Dom and OJ, and then Kat, and then a kid I'm training right now. He's a tough college wrestler. Chaz Hallmark left me with a mark today. So yeah, I mean, I love getting on the mat. It's not like something like I do a lot of, like, wrestling coaching, but if I get the opportunity to get on the mat, I'd definitely love to roll with those guys and stuff. So get back to my roots.
Yeah. So those 3 athletes that you have now from an MMA field, they've all been through very long layoffs. Do you ever compare to where you had, you know, that layoff of the certain time period in your 20s to compare to help them with the mental strength of being off for that amount of time?
100%. You know, I can completely relate. It's nice that like, you know, the three that we're talking about here, whether it's, you know, Dom or Kat or Jessica, like we're all kind of like in that same age range. You know, I know they've each had their different challenges from injuries and ups and downs. So yeah, like it's like I can really relate to them in different ways than maybe I could, like, you know, 24-year-old, you know, that's transitioning right from college to MMA or something like that. So yeah, definitely I use my kind of experiences in a roundabout way of dealing with adversity. You know, I mean, that's something that, like, you know, everybody deals with in different ways. And I think that's you know, it's kind of like a skill that you learn. And how do you deal with, like, you know, a long, you know, I remember at one point when Mike was out here training, he had a long, he talks about it it's like 635 days without a win or something. He has that number.
I remember that. Yeah,
and
that weird time period.
He had some tough losses like Will Brooks and,
you
know, but, you know, and fighting those mental battles that you have and, you know, having those ups and downs, and you can see it in the training session when they're really like, you know, so, you know, just kind of being that coach, you know, something that's, you know, neat about being a coach is that you gotta be there for the tough times, but then you gotta be there for the good times too. So I think that's part of the job. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. So does working with them make you want to expand your MMA clientele maybe, and then maybe even one day have your own center for specifically MMA stars?
Yeah. You know, I love working with the MMA athletes, and even the ones that I've been exposed to, whether it's Mike or Dom or, you know, Kat or Jessica. It's not like me going out and recruiting them down here. I've been lucky through, you know, mutual friends and connections and stuff like that to have met them while I've been here, and then come up and be part of our community here at Fitness Quest 10. So yeah, you know, I think I love, you know, I'm an advocate for fighters. I know that, like, you know, there's some people like some of the people that we're talking about, but it's a tough road as an MMA fighter, you know, being your own kind of, you know, you have to be a business manager. You have to, like, you know, it's not like, you know, I see the NFL players and, like, gosh, like our guy that just got, you know, Mahomes that just got this 10-year,
$500 million,
$500 million contract. Like, when are MMA fighters going to start getting, you know, like what they deserve? Because it's like, you know, you hear about the guys like Mike and Dom and it's the big name people, Uriah, people that have done well, but there's so many people that are fighting and scrapping for, you know, $30,000 a fight, and, you know, fighting twice a year, and it's just a tough road. So, like, you know, I like to, like, be in that MMA athlete's corner, you know, supporting them as a coach, and, you know, I'm an advocate for those types of athletes and stuff like that. So yeah, I would like to, like, work with more wrestlers, work with more MMA fighters, and, you know, I haven't really gone full bore out there into the universe trying to, like, you know, recruit those types of people right now, but I definitely would like to do more of it in the future. So
yeah, that's perfect. And I was going to ask you that question about fighter pay, because that's been a big subject now within the past. It's been a subject for a long time, but not as prominent as it is now. And you're part of, you know, their pay, because they have to pay someone like you, strength and conditioning. They have to pay Muay Thai coaches. They got to pay a wrestler. So do you feel like these fighters, even from the lower ends, like fighters in the prelims, should be making more money than they are now?
100%. And I think it's just, you know, the sports, it's a younger sport compared to, you know, some of these bigger organizations like the MLB or the NFL that's been around for, you know, Major League Baseball been around over 100 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think as the sports grows and players unionize or whatever, that they will get to a point where they're like that. But right now it's tough. Like, as an independent kind of fighter, you know, you got to plan out how you're going to spend all your money on your, you know, your coaching staff and your team, and then, you know, your gym, and then all the other expenses that go along, and then taxes after the fact. And so it's like, it's a tough deal. So, you know, I'm definitely an advocate, because I know what the sport entails. I've seen it, you know, from the very beginning, like, you know, guys that, like, you know, they got families and trying to support a family with, like, such an you know, the income is so inconsistent, and, like, you know, like, you can get injured, all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, you're on the outs, you know, or whatever. So, and I saw Dom go through that, you know, where when he went through some injuries, and it was kind of like, man, like you are dispensable, you know, like, and so I'm grateful that Dom's got some, you know, opportunities in broadcasting, and he's got that gift of gab and everything like that. But
One of the best.
yeah, totally. So yeah.
So do you I know you're very busy, but do you watch fights yourself, like on Saturdays, especially during this time period? Are you there watching these fights?
Yeah, whenever I can. I definitely don't catch all of them, and I'm not
Yeah.
like the fan like you are. And you know, I know that you you know, you're watching them all and breaking them all down and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely do whenever I can, and especially if I have some sort of a connection or whatever to anybody on the card or whatever, then I definitely will. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
I just got to ask, this is the last question before I let you go, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jorge Masvidal, KAMARU Usman, who you got?
So, you know, I got to go with my man Usman because, you know, it's like, say, even if I don't personally know Usman, like I know he's trained a lot with my buddy Mike Chandler, and it's kind of like he's got that wrestler roots. Like, you know, I know Usman was at he wrestled Division II. My brother was a Division II All-American. And at the same time that Usman was at University of Nebraska Kearney. So, you know, I always root for those wrestlers, and, you know, I know that wrestlers are so dominant in the sport of MMA, and that's part of my roots and my pride and stuff like that. So I got to go for Usman and root for those wrestlers. I'll always be rooting for the wrestlers. So.
Always for the wrestlers. That's fine. Marty from Nebraska, as they call him, when he had his nickname back in those days. But Jeff, I appreciate so much for your time. Besides being a strength and conditioning coach, the strength of the mind is amazing. I commend you for that big time.
That.
And thank you for coming on.
Quick question for you before we sign off. How did you, where does your passion in the sport come from? I love to see all that you're doing, and where did that come from? Tell me just a 2-minute CNN version of your background. This is on flipping the script.
Flipping the script on me. No, that's perfectly fine. So my mother's boyfriend, when I was about 11 or 10 years old, came over, and he was just like, do you have pay-per-view? You have pay-per-view? I'm like, no, I don't have pay-per-view. The only thing I used pay-per-view for was to buy wrestling events like WWE wrestling. Yeah. And he's like, I need to watch this event. I'm like, okay, sure. Here, this is how you order it. And he put on
Anderson from my office.
He put on Anderson Silva versus Travis Lutter. And I'm just like, okay, what is this? I've seen like the Tito Ortiz fights, like just random things just like you say at Blockbuster. And I'm like, this sport is not really real. This is just barbaric kind of fighting. And I saw the difference in styles, and that was just one of the most amazing things to see, because Travis Lutter was a big-time wrestler, Anderson Silva, a jiu-jitsu / Muay Thai striker. And Travis Lutter took him down, was dominating him on the ground, and then Anderson Silva threw up that triangle and was striking from the bottom. And just to see how elusive that he was and the things that he can do, I was just completely hooked, and I couldn't stop watching from there. And I believe there was a co-main event on that fight. I'm not remembering right now, but ever since I watched that fight, I went on to watch The Ultimate Fighter. I never missed an episode. I never missed an episode of Ultimate Fighter. I never missed a fight, and I watched every UFC and Pride event and some other events as well from the beginning.
Wow.
I was just ultimately hooked, and it's crazy because I regret this now. In high school, my geography teacher wanted me to wrestle, and I was about 140 pounds, and he told me, you can wrestle. You can drop down to 125 and you'll be good. And I'm just like, 125? Absolutely not. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine who always walked around with a gallon of water, just like drinking water, because he had to cut weight. And I think about it now. I'm like, man, if I would have wrestled, I probably would have gotten to MMA at some certain point in time, or just like at least thought about it. But it's okay. I'm still in the realm of MMA, but on a different side of it. And I can cover these athletes. I watch every fight to break it down.
That's awesome.
I trained that top team in Miramar down here for a little bit.
Okay.
I definitely want to go back and do some more, but in time for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you guys, you know, the fans and the analysts and the, you know, people that support the sport, because that's how it keeps going. And, you know, if there's anything I could ever do to help you, let me know. And when you're out here in San Diego, you got to come over and get a training session in.
Hey, let's do it. I'm down. Let everybody know where to follow you at, Jeff.
At Bristol Fit. At Bristol Fit.
At Bristol Fit. Everybody give him a follow. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. We
appreciate you, man. All right, boss. Have a good day.
You too. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Another interview this Wednesday. I appreciate it, guys. We'll be back on tomorrow, Thursday. Me and Nick will be doing our breakdown of the card on Saturday, Fight Island. Thank you so much to Jeff Bristol for joining me. I appreciate that so much. That was an awesome interview. Amazing answers. It'll be on my page immediately after this. Then I'll have it on my YouTube page. You guys can check it out there. Check it out here. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. I'll see you later. Mystic Black out.